Hello and welcome back to the Betting Heat episode 2. I'd like to thank you all for all the positive feedback on episode 1. Hopefully this one comes out just as good as the first. I've got two different guests with me today. As you can see, I've got Ryan from Twitter. Ryan, say hello.
Hi.
And I'm also joined by trainer Tom Lacey today to talk about his run at Kimberlite Candy. If you haven't figured out already, we're going to be talking about the Becher Chase. Tom, how are you doing?
Good, thank you. Yeah, very well.
Ryan, we'll head over to you for the first question.
Cool. Obviously, you're probably going to have the market leader in the Becher on Saturday, Tom. Last season, did you expect him to be as good as he was?
We always, I mean, it's ridiculous, but when you have a horse, you just, I bought him as an unbroken 3-year-old store horse. And, year on year, we just kept thinking, one day this chap's going to be tailor-made for Aintree. And Richie McLernan was, he rode him in all his novice chases and everything. And he always said, this is going to make up into an Aintree horse. So, when he did eventually come of age, which was last year, we thought he was physically strong enough to go there. We always thought he would take to the fences, but you never quite know until you try them. And he certainly did take to them when he jumped around there. I mean, it was a pretty much foot perfect display of jumping around there in the Becher last year. And, we couldn't wait to get back there.
Just sort of touched on there, he was a very progressive horse last season. He's now still only 8 years old. Do you imagine he's improved again?
I think he has. Yes, I do. I mean, I think cheek pieces have brought out a bit of improvement in him. He's clearly not an ungenuine horse, but they just concentrate the mind a little bit. And Richie came down and sat on him there a month or so ago, and he felt that he'd matured physically. So yes, we certainly do think he's improved again. He's been a very slow maturing horse throughout, and he's a bull of a horse now, whereas before he was still very much a frame. And we obviously it'd be nice if there was even further improvement again next time, but he's certainly improved from 7 to 8. Yes.
Yeah, you said obviously he could improve again. I think he went up £16 last year. So I suppose it depends how much he has got left. He always goes well fresh. So do you think he's ready for this first time up this year?
Well, I mean, he went there. It was the Becher Chase was his first run there last year. He hadn't had a prep run. We can get them, we can get them incredibly fit at home, and we managed to get a couple of away days into him. And yes, you're right. I mean, he does go fresh, and he's going into this race now off a career best in the Classic Chase at Warwick. So, we genuinely believe he's going there as a real life contender. Yeah.
Providing he obviously comes out of this race all well and good, what is going to be the next step for him?
Well, there are various other things. I mean, we'll probably end up, could easily end up going back to the Classic Chase and then ultimately Aintree in April. You're always concerned in that time of year, come the spring, the drying ground, he is clearly a better horse with a bit of juice in the ground and, the drying ground in April, but Aintree do a superb job of watering, and it's always, on the slow side of good at worst as far as we're concerned. So we'll just see, but it's very much one race at a time. It's not a horse that you would campaign hard. You've already alluded to the fact that he runs well fresh, and he's the type of horse that have 3, maybe 4 runs a year. Last year when we all got closed down with COVID, we quickly got him on a boat back to Ireland with a view that potentially he could have run in the Irish National again.
Yeah, there looks a bit rangy, so that obviously help his chances. It must be special having a good chaser like him in the JP colours as well, especially with a name like the National. Just attracts a lot more attention, so he's almost going to be a stable star if he does perform on Saturday. So hopefully he does make it to Aintree. I'm guessing JP's a massive fan of him as well, and believes he's as good as what you think he is.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's having a horse with JP is, when JP first took ownership of him, it was it was just surreal, really, to think that we've got his colours in the yard, and it was a huge lift. And you know, the man's and his family. That I mean, it's just incredible what he does for racing, and you know, to train him a Becher Chase winner would be incredibly special, as it would for any owner in the yard. You know, but of course they're very high-profile silks, and everyone recognises them. They're actually more known as AP McCoy's silks than JP's, but
yeah, definitely.
you know, it's of course it is to have an owner of that profile in the yard is incredibly flattering, and you know, we're very proud to have him.
Whilst we've got you here, I've got a horse that I'd like to know about myself, and I believe that Ryan's got a couple that he's big fans of in the yard as well. You've got an exciting hurdler, possibly chaser in time, T Clipper. He ran last week, and I think it's fair to say disappointed. He was strong in the market and maybe just didn't show what we all thought he could. But how's he come out the race, and what's your plans of him?
He's come out of the race really well. His jumping just went to pot up the straight, and you know, in a race of that grade, you simply can't afford to miss a beat. And he lost his momentum, and you know, it all went downhill from thereafter. Having won the silver trophy at Chepstow, we made a conscious decision that we would stay over hurdles this time. And I think he's a horse now that will fill up through the depths of the winter and possibly have a prep run with a view to going for the Coral Cup, but that's still to be, you know, confirmed with Ashley and Jerry. So, you know, that's what I'm thinking. But you know, I floated it past them, and we've got plenty of time to digest it all and see where we go. But we'll definitely be filling him up now through the depths of the winter. You know, whilst the ground's deep and proper winter ground setting, you just get a nice.
He's a proper good ground horse, isn't he?
I think he is. I mean, I don't see why he wouldn't go on good to soft. He's still, you know, he's a young horse, and he's a frame of a horse as well. You know, he's a very light framed horse, so you know, he's still maturing. The best of him still to come, and ultimately, when he does get a fence, you know, I'm not that keen to go over fences this year myself. Although, you know, Johnny Burke might have said so in the disappointment of Saturday's run that, you know, maybe fences was the way forward. And it may be that may be the case, but I don't see any point in rushing over fences at this time of year.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I think when we do see him over fences next year, we'll bring a bit of excitement because, like you say, his run at Chepstow was brilliant. Another horse of yours who I had my eye on for a while was Hazard. He won his bumper and sort of didn't follow up from there. Do you think he's sort of got everything right now after his last run? I mean, he stayed on really well, was closing all the way to the line. I'd say he was a bit unlucky, really. If he'd have got a bit closer at Cheltenham, he might have took that. So do you think it's full steam ahead with him now?
Yeah, no, he's in great nick. He worked this morning, and we're really pleased with how he worked. He probably did the best bit of work this morning that he'd done since he's been back. As you'll know, I didn't train him last winter. I trained him for his 2 bumper runs.
He left, didn't he? And then he came back. You trained him for his bumper win, is that right? And then he came back to you.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, he pulled very hard in the listed bumper at Ascot that I ran him in, and we were very conscious that we wanted him to settle early on at Cheltenham. And actually, my first impressions of that run was he was too far back, but he wasn't actually that too far back at all when you rewatch it. And he just landed on his hind legs over the last, and had he have winged that hurdle, I think he would have actually got up. But he's going to Doncaster on the 11th of this month in a 0-120 novice handicap, and hopefully the ground will be, you know, good to soft there at worst, and big long straight, and I'm sure, you know, that should be his day, I hope.
Yeah.
Have you got another Ryan as well?
Yeah, well, when I say when we talk about progressive horses, I want to just touch on Thomas Patrick. Everything seems to have gone the other way with him. What is your thinking of him? Are we going to see another run in? I hope he does York Hill, or what's your plans?
That'd be nice. Yeah, no, it's just, I mean, it all went downhill after the Ladbroke Trophy. Really, he ran really well in the Future Stars Chase at Sandown, and I don't think I've ever seen Richard Johnson quite so cross. He thought the race was won and put his stick down, and he got pipped on the line, and he then went to we sort of got press ganged into running him in the Ladbroke. Everyone hyped him, and I think if I was faced with a similar situation now, I knew in my gut that it was the wrong race for him. He's not a horse that wants the hustle and bustle of huge handicaps. And I always knew in my gut feeling that it was the wrong race for him, but he was a 7-1 favourite at the time, and my sort of, I just felt that I got press ganged into it, and I made the wrong decision in taking him there. Whether that was the race that broke his heart or the Futures Chase broke his heart, what you must remember is when I got hold of him, he was pulling up in English point to points. He'd had blinkers fitted on him in English point to points, and perhaps we should be applauding ourselves for achieving what we achieved rather than beating ourselves up for what has gone wrong since. And he's been a fantastic horse. He was the first horse that David Kellett owned, and he absolutely captured David's love of racing, and David's had another couple of horses since. So he's been a fantastic horse, and yes, he has regressed. Quite why, I don't know. You do see it all too often. These horses just get to a point. He had a couple of really good front running displays, hard races, pushed along by Richard Johnson, there is no stronger jockey than Richard Johnson I've ever seen riding. He is just an absolute ball of muscle, and when he sets into one, there's no hiding place under him. And maybe he just thought, I'm not going to put myself over that line again. I don't know, but we've changed things around here a bit, and we take him off hacking in the woods a lot now. And we did a lot of that prior to his run in the amateur race at Cheltenham, and we felt that we had rekindled a bit of spark. And then this year, his run back this year was hugely disappointing. He's a horse that works well at home. He shows you all the right signs at home, and he's getting to the track and he's just not wanting to put it in. And for what reason, I don't know. David spent an obscene sum of money having him MRI scanned and bone scanned and the rest of it, and there's nothing come to light. So maybe he's just fallen out of love with it. But we're going to give him another whirl at Exeter on the 17th of December, a 0-130 handicap over 3 miles, and we'll see where we are with him. But who knows? It would be, it would just be lovely if we could get him back on winning ways.
This is going to be
even if it was. Go on.
No, go on. If you keep on top.
I was going to say, even if he wins something a bit lower graded, and like you say, he has regressed. There's no two ways about that. But it would just be great to see him, even if he battles on and just shows what he did show before. Like you say, maybe he is suffering from a broken heart, or he's just not interested because, like you say, he's physically fit and able, and he does it at home. So it's a conundrum, I suppose.
It is a bit, you do see it, don't you see it in other horses too. There's a endless list of horses that just get to a point and they don't want to get involved any longer. He's had the best of everything. He's you say win a lower grade race, it takes a long time to come down. The handicap is quick to pump you up, but when you're dropping in increments of 2, 1, you're a long time getting back to a level where he's going to have a chance to get his head in front, grow in confidence, and then maybe, go again. But, we did talk about dropping him out of training and running him in point to points, but the way he's performing at the moment, he wouldn't win an open point to point.
This is a bit of a tough question, really, Tom, because I did give you a list of them and this wasn't on there. I'm looking, you've got a fair few runners on the weekend. If you had one big chance of the weekend, who do you reckon it's going to be?
Well, we obviously got Kimberlite Candy. We haven't got many runners at the weekend, actually. We've only got Kimberlite Candy and Kate Sun at Aintree, and then a novice going to Chepstow. I mean, obviously our hopes are really high for Kimberlite Candy. He seems in great heart. He's a horse that, he's easy to train in the sense of he tells you when he's right. When you're putting the saddle on him and you're girthing him up, he squeals and he kicks the walls, and so he's an absolute pleasure in that regard. When he's right, because he doesn't do that when he's not. When he's absolute, cherry right, he starts kicking the walls in the stable. When you're saddling him, he wants to barge out through the doors. An early season when he's unfit, he just doesn't do those type of things. So, he's in great shape. I've spoken to the clerk of the course at Aintree today. They've had rain again this morning. The ground's going to be on the, easy side of soft. If he goes up there and takes those fences like he did last year, I don't see why he shouldn't run a big race. I know he's got more weight on his back. We've got to give £8 to Walk in the Mill. That Coco Star Savola's, he's been back to all week. He's been into 12s from 50s, I think. Yankee, he looks like he's improved a little bit for the Switcher stables. His jumping's always very solid. Rames de Tele, there's plenty there. The horses that need respecting. It's by no means a walk in the park, but I think Canada's in great heart, and we can't wait to get up there and see him run. Brilliant.
Well, that's going to wrap up question time with Tom Lacey. Thank you very much, Tom, for coming on with us and giving us your insight on Kimberlite Candy and also a few other runners in the yard as well. We really do appreciate you coming on.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for asking me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, so it's time to talk about the Becher Chase, a really competitive race for this weekend. I've got Ryan here to talk me through the bulk of the runners. We'll start off with the market favourite, Kimberlite Candy. How do you reckon he's going to go?
Well, they're definitely where he should be in the market. I mean, obviously we spoke to Tom and he's happy with him. He said he spoke to the clerk of the course and the ground's going to be fine for him. I do worry about the rise in the weights with him. I think you just don't know, especially on a reappearance, how much a horse can improve when put up that kind of weight. But he's got to give a lot of weight away to Walk in the Mill as well. So he wouldn't be my favourite, and I'm not sure how you feel about him.
I had pretty much the same thing on my list, that he was too high in the weights. He's about 2 lengths down on Walk in the Mill and he comes here £8 worse off. So on that basis alone, he shouldn't stand a chance, really. But as we sort of spoke with Tom, he thinks he's improved for another year on his back, and he is only 8. So there's a chance that he's got age on the right side of him whilst Walking the Mill. I believe he's now turning 10 years old. So with age on there, it should be a little bit of a closer match. But on weights alone, I wouldn't give him much of a chance. Walking the Mill, I believe, follows him up closely. If not Walking the Mill, it's Le Broy. But we'll start with Walking the Mill. He's a horse who looks to have a really obvious chance. He won this the last 2 years. He was in the middle of that. He finished 4th in the Grand National. He does really love it around these Aintree fences. Has he got any chinks in his armour this year?
I wouldn't be too worried about him. I mean, he's only racing off, I think, £8 higher than last year, and he clearly improved. It's just, I think this track is his track. I wouldn't be concerned about his prep run at all. I think he pulled up in his prep run last year before coming here and winning. He's always been shorter in the market. He's won it twice off 10-1 and 8-1, so he's never been a huge surprise anyway. And every year that goes by that he turns up. I think if he was to run well again this year and come back next year, he'd be favourite again. But I think there is some unexposed types over these fences that could take advantage.
Next in the market is Le Broy. What's your thoughts on Le Broy?
He's won. He's not unexposed. He obviously ran in the 4 miler at Cheltenham. He won that. He battled all the way up to the line. He was running over 2.5 miles as a novice chaser. And I was always waiting for him to go up to 3 miles. And then they put him up to 4 miles, and I bet against him with Discarama and got ginned. So you never know what horses really are going to make 4 miles. And I think he's down to 141 now as well, where he ran around here last year, ran well last year, finished 7th off of 150. So in terms of weights, he's a lot better off this year as well. And he's had a prep run as well. So he'll be good to go. And he got a big chance, in my opinion.
I literally share exactly the same thoughts with you on that one. Le Broy is a very strong fancy of mine in this race. The only problem is his price. I don't think he's too big in the market anymore. You've about 10-1 earlier on in the week when I was first looking, and I've just sort of seen that plummet down to about 6-1. He's a proper stayer. Obviously, he showed that in the 4 miler at Cheltenham, £9, as you say, lower than last year. I think he loved jumping these fences last year, and that was when he wasn't showing his best form as well. I don't know if you watch anything on the Racing Post, but they had Ben Paulin on the What a Shout show last week, and he gave this horse a really big markup. He's had a nice prep at Kelso, and I think he'll go really well here. Yala Enki follows him up in the market. Now, this horse had probably quite a tough race last time out off, I believe, a big weight for Paul Nicholls. I think he I think he got chinned close to home. What's your thoughts on Yala Enki?
Yeah, Yala Enki and Ramsataya, the form's tied in there. Just a mention on LeBrawl. I would be really concerned with Ben Paulin's form, if I'm honest, on that one. He said Kildesart was ready last week, and we didn't see much of him during the race. He's not. The stable weren't in form last year. We thought it was going to be different this year, and they're not performing. So at prices around 9-2, I think as much as we can fancy him, we can't fancy him at the same time. But yeah, Yala Enki and Ramsataya, I mean, they battled it out at Cheltenham. Hard race. Both had a really hard race. I mean, they took each other on from the front a lot of the way around. They definitely got a chance, but they're both high. I mean, Yala Enki's top weight 11-12. Would you back a top weight going around here? Because I wouldn't.
Yeah, definitely not.
And Ramsataya also carrying 11-6. I think they're good horses. I just can't at the weights. I can't be having them, and sandwiched in between them's Callet Mad, and that runner just speaks for itself. Hasn't had a run for 693 days, I don't think. So in the middle of the market, I think there's going to be a lot of drifters come today.
I think we both agree that the horses at the front of the market, the top three, have outstanding chances and really should be battling this out. I agree with you 100% on Yala Enki. Top weight, now at the age of 10 years old. I believe this is a close to a career high mark for him. This is his first time over these national fences as well. And obviously you never know if a horse is going to take to these fences. I think it's a huge question mark over him, and I wouldn't fancy him at all. Ramsataya is a really interesting runner because they capitalised on being a novice hurdler last year, and he picked up 2 Grade 2s. He obviously is a really dour stayer. I have a huge concern over him as I watched back his national run. I believe he unseated the rider because the jockey's irons broke or something along those lines. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he got pulled up for one reason or another, not by the horse's account. But he didn't jump these at all cleanly. Every single jump was a bit sloppy, and the commentator kept saying it as well. From about the first 5 or 6 fences, all I could hear was the commentator saying, Ramsataya has made another mistake. And I think this could be a slightly bad afterthought to be sending him to something like the National. For all we know, he is going to stay all day. Kustar Savola is a horse that I know you have a strong opinion on. He is a big market mover, 50s to 25s to 16s. I believe he's all the way down to 10-1 now. So I imagine the price has gone for you, knowing the sort of punter you are. But I imagine you're going to give this one a bit of a talk up.
Yeah, Kustar finally been jocked up. That was a concern of mine. I was looking this morning, and there was still no jockey on board, so I was getting a bit twitchy. You've seen it back to week, like you say, 50. I think it was 16 this morning with no jockey on. I was thinking it's getting a bit late. The rest of them are sort of getting jocked up now. But they put Tom O'Brien on, so that's no negative. Obviously won the Ultima, which speaks for itself really. Nick Williams, yeah, I struggle to get his horses right a lot of the time, but he's had a prep run as well. I think soft ground. These fences, I think he's pulled up round Aintree before, but obviously going back on over the national fences, probably an upgrade in jockey booking from when he was being ridden by Lizzie Kelly. Just my opinion. I think having Tom O'Brien on will really help. But just off of a mark now that he's soon going to take advantage of. Whether it's around here or not, I don't know. Like you say, the price is gone. So off of 137 compared to what he was. I mean, he was 150 at one point. So he's dropped down and hasn't ran too badly. I mean, he finished 10 lengths behind Elegant Escape in a Class 1 round Sandown. So he's been there or thereabouts, pulled up at the festival, and obviously last run was a prep run. So he's already. I think they probably prepped him for this and got his mark down as much as they could, which 150 to 137, he's almost got a stone in hand. So definite chances for him.
Anyone else in the field that you like?
The next one, I think, is Smooth Stepper. Really good prep run. I think it was 50-1. He went off at Sandown. I didn't give him a chance that day, and he's finished. It was a veterans chase. I think he finished 10 lengths behind Step Back. he's obviously got a step up again. He's carrying 10 stone 9, but he is an 11-year-old. And the other one I give a mention to is Double Shuffle, legend, who I'm sure we've all backed before.
Yeah,
why
definitely.
they're sending him here, I don't know. He's not jocked up yet, so I wouldn't be backing him. He's 33-1, but he could be a surprise. I think a lot of these are going to sort of could be out of it halfway around, and you're probably going to get 5 places on the day as well. So it's worth mentioning that there is a few entered elsewhere as well. Manila Celebrations entered, I think, in the Many Clouds later on the card. Callet Mad and Give Me a Copper are both entered at Sundown as well. So you could end up with a smaller field. So if you do play anti-post, you get in your 4 places, and you might only end up getting that on the day anyway as well. So yeah, Double Shuffle, I think it'll probably end up going off about 50s, but probably have a few good on there.
I was sort of waiting because I spotted Double Shuffle, I think on his first run back this year. I've got on the sort of my head there, might be wrong. I had a look at him, and he is starting to tumble down those weights, and obviously he's been campaigned at the top graded level. He ran in the King George a few times. I think I'll be waiting for him to go hit a handicap around Kempton, because I think Kempton's a track that really suits him. If they can find a race for him, I'd try and get him into something like that. I'll have to ask you for your selection for the race, Ryan. Who's it going to be?
It will be. I will stick with Q-Star Civila despite the price. I mean, if you could have got the 25s earlier in the week, then you're laughing. I just think there's so many in here who haven't got a chance of staying. Like ASO, Give Me a Copper, Cross Park. I think Joe Farrell's probably passed his best as well, and they're all going to get shorter as well. So I'd stick with Q-Star Civila and LeBraw if you can forgive the stable form.
I was going to say, my selection, I'll have to redeem myself. I fancied Mr. Malarkey for the Ladbrokes Ladbrokes Trophy last week. And that was awful. I'm glad that you're in the boat with me. And I'm going to go with LeBroy. He's not much for a price, but I think he's well handicapped, and he did really love it around these Aintree fences. As you say, Ben Paulin's yard, not in particularly great form, but if he can overcome that, he has a great chance, and possibly even go on to run well in the Grand National as well later down the line. So we've gone through one of the toughest races that I could have found this week in the Becher Chase. Time for the naps. Who's your best bet of the weekend?
I'm going to go outside the box. I'm not going to put up a short one. I could have put up Santini. I think Santini will win. But I've gone for Totterdown at Sandown in a 3:35. He ran a novice chase behind Pic Dory and Le Patriot, I think. Only finishing 7 lengths behind, so that was quite encouraging, considering he goes off out front and just tears through everything he goes at. I was a bit concerned when they sent him chasing how long he'd last before he came down. And he did come down on his second start when falling behind Hitman, who hacked up round Foss last. They've put him back hurdling now, which is the right thing to do. They've managed to get him down from 142 to 139 just with them chase runs alone. So they've stuck Liam Harrison on to take off another 7. He'll be going off 132. He's up against some good horses. I think Mr. Coffey's probably still well handicapped. Solo's in there, but he's 14-1, and obviously a few of them can still come out between now and Saturday as well. So I'll go with Totterdown at 14-1.
I find it very interesting that you really like Santini, because I really don't like Santini, and that's where my nap is going to be coming from. The Many Clouds, I'm very reluctant to back the two at the top of the market. Santini, firstly, I think this horse has one plan in mind, and that is the Gold Cup. He really, really badly underperformed first time out. I don't think he went for a racecourse gallop last year, and he did this year, I believe. And I just think first time out is the time to catch him, and he's taken up a nice chunk of the market. You've also got Native River in there as well. And we were talking about stable form with Ben Paulin. After Mr. Malarkey and Copperhead last weekend, I can't trust anything out of this Colin Tizard yard. I'd had a little look. He's got a 36% run to form ratio the last 14 days, and he's had 2 winners from 33 runners. I can't back them. So that leaves me with Frodon. I actually don't really like this horse at all, but he is the most admirably consistent horse. He puts up some really good numbers, and his seasonal reappearance at Cheltenham, he put up a really nice performance, I think. Now, you're going to have to fish around at the time of recording. He's as big as 3s, as short as 2s. Some firms are 11-4, and some firms are 9-4, so it's a bit all over the shop. But fish around effectively to get the best price. I think the plan for him is going to be the Gold Cup, but I think he stands no chance. So I think an easy 3 miles like round Aintree, which is quite a flat track, is going to really suit him. I think with the question marks with the horses at the front of the market, I think he has the least questions to answer going into this race and has fitness on his side. And I imagine you have a reason to tell me why I'm wrong.
Well, then what would you say if I told you Frodon was rated £1 higher than Native River?
Well, I think that's embarrassing. Really, it shouldn't be the fact.
£3 shorter than the Gold Cup runner-up. For what he is, I love Frodon. I mean, the story a couple of years back when he won around Cheltenham and then won the Ryanair was amazing. But 3 mile one, if he stays 3 mile one and beats Santini around there on soft ground, I'm giving up.
The one concern I have with it is that fact of Native River, whether he's fit and ready to go or not, he only has one way of running, and that's from the front. And that's going to sort of take away from Frodon, who is a bit of a front runner, or very much so a front runner. And the strong pace that's going to be set is most probably going to suit Santini as well. But I do think there's question marks over the front too. And I don't like anything else in that race. So Frodon, 3-1.
It is a tough race, isn't it? Tough race.
I did pick a very tough race to go for my nap, but we shoot for glory anyway. Ryan, thank you very much for coming on. I do apologise. Your first time on the betting heat, I gave you a very tough task of trying to find the winner of the Becher Chase. And although you found it 3 days ago at 25-1, and it's now come crashing down into tens, I thank you very much for going through the race with me. I do appreciate it. Is there anything you wanted to say to any viewers before you go?
No, thanks for having me on. And I'm sure if I do back the winner, you'll have me back.
Oh, most definitely have you back on.
If you pull up after 3, I'll disappear.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, guys. I hope you did really enjoy the betting heat. What we'll do for next week is I'm going to find a trainer and we're going to ask you guys for questions. So check me out on Twitter at Racing Willow. Also check out Ryan, if you can remind me of your Twitter.
It's at RGM Racing.
And he does a fantastic page and also runs a Telegram page where he puts up some very good bets. I can assure you his stats have been outstanding. Best of luck with all your bets this weekend, and hopefully we found the winner.